Hello, Health Accelerator family. I'm going to do this all over again in just a second. We're connecting to Facebook, getting that up and going. Things seem much, much better tonight. So it looks like it's connecting. Give me just a second and we'll get started. I appreciate everyone being on YouTube. Give me a second. It just takes a little bit for Facebook to catch up before we can go live. So we will get there in just a second. I'm getting a new computer, so we're going to be able to do both. All right. All right. Welcome to Facebook and YouTube Live Health Accelerator class. So I appreciate everybody's patience from last night. I know it was a little frustrating, but I appreciate everyone getting everything that they could out of it, but then also being understanding that we had to move into tonight. So it's all good. Doesn't matter when you get the information, just as long as you're getting the information, right? So if you're watching live, go ahead, just drop a hashtag live in the comments. If you are watching the replay, just drop a hashtag replay. Okay. So tonight we are going to talk about the 7 diseases of attitude. I started talking about it last night, but it comes from Jim Rohn. I mentioned that last night, but I think it's really relevant to moving into the new year, right? We all have big goals, big visions. And I read somewhere the other day that the second Friday of the year, of the new year, is typically when most people kind of give up on their quote unquote New Year's resolutions, right? But that doesn't happen here, right, family? Because we just plug right back in and we're good, right? That's the beauty of Health Accelerator. If you maybe stop doing it for a day or two, you can course correct, right? Course correction is the key because it's not a matter of what you can and can't have. It's just a matter of how much and how often, right? So we want to make sure that what we eat, what we think, and what we do is where that's what we need to be doing, right? So, okay. 7 diseases of attitude. Number 1, indifference. We got into this a little bit last night, but I really want to touch on this one. So, indifference, that's when we start to try to convince ourselves that, hey, maybe I don't need to reach my goals. Maybe I'm okay where I'm at. And while it's important to be happy with where you are and content with where you are in the present moment, it's important to have goals and have something that you're working for. And it's okay to want more. You can still be happy where you're at and still want more, right? That's exactly where I'm at in my life. I am absolutely happy with where I am, but I have lots of goals, right? I have lots of things I want to do. Okay. And so that's perfect, right? It gives me something to work for, it gives me something to strive for. I can't let the attitude of indifference of well, I guess everything's okay. It's fine. You know, maybe I would like to do a little better, but it's okay. I'm just gonna just hang out here, right? That is a danger zone because then what happens? Then we start to let those bad habits creep back in, and then all of a sudden, we're no longer where we want to be. All right. So, number 1 is indifference. Number 2, indecision. This one is huge. Okay. And I heard someone say the other night when they were presenting on this, I would rather make the wrong decision and learn it was wrong faster than to not make a decision and just wonder what if, right? So that indecision. And this is kind of where that, oh, well, I'll start Monday or I'll start someday comes in, right? Or I'll start on the first. That indecision, it's that danger zone of not making a decision, sticking to it, and just saying, hey, this is what I'm doing, right? If it's wrong, you can always course correct. You can make a different decision, right? But when we get stuck in that limbo, we've heard the term paralysis by analysis, right? I've been guilty of that, right? It's happened in my life where I'm like, well, what do I do? Do I do this? Do I do that? I don't really know. And I just kind of don't make a decision. And then where am I at a month or two from now? Same place I was, or maybe even a little further behind. That is one thing I am so glad I didn't do when I was first introduced to Simple Fat Burn and Health Accelerator, right? I made the decision. I said, nope, we're going for it. And it wasn't a, well, I'll start Monday. It was a, no, we're starting tomorrow. We're talking this evening on a Wednesday evening. You're starting Thursday morning. That's it. You're done. And that was Wednesday after dinner we spoke. So it was like, there's nothing. It was like, okay, cool. We're just doing this. We're going all in. So that's that indecision. Make a decision. And then if it's not the right decision, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. You can course correct, right? It's okay. All right. So that's number 2 is indecision. Number 3, doubt, specifically self-doubt. And this is something that I have had my fair share of, right? Can I do it? Am I worth it? I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'll be successful. Who cares? Do something, right? And this is the danger zone we get in when we start to have those fears of some people call it imposter syndrome. I think this is why scripting is so important. It removes the self-doubt because we are scripting things as if they've already happened for us, right? And so as we talk about self-doubt, we're able to really remove the fear, right? Which again kind of goes with that indecision or indifference, right? I think we act out of indifference and indecision sometimes because we have that self-doubt, and it's the what if I fail? But it's like, well, what if you succeed? You've got nothing to lose, right? You're already not exactly where you want to be. So do something, make a decision, decide, right? So you have that indecision is gone, right? You've decided, you've made a decision. You're no longer being indifferent. You care about the outcome. And then that doubt, that self-doubt starts to fade away because you start to make a little bit of progress. That's why we celebrate all of our wins. The 7-step signature process, number 6 is celebrate all wins. Why? Because it removes self-doubt, right? Okay, so that's number 3, self-doubt. All right, it's a killer. It creates indecision. It creates inaction. It creates that paralysis by analysis. Okay. And so that's why it's really important that you work through that self-doubt. And that's where scripting is a very powerful tool. And if you're not familiar with scripting, go back and watch last week's class or the week before. We talked a lot about how to script and what it can do, how it can lift those things, and it can start to create the life that you envision for yourself. It's okay to dream. It's okay to daydream and say, well, what if this? And wouldn't it be nice if this? Right? And that allows that self-doubt to kind of start to melt away. All right. So that's number 3. Number 4 is worry. Worry is such a disease of attitude. we start to worry and create all kinds of scenarios in our minds that, quite frankly, may or may not happen, right? We don't know. We can control our actions, right? We can't control an outcome. We can't control what others do towards us, right? We can't control how others respond. We can't control how others behave, but we can control how we respond. Okay. And so it's really important that the worry, and this is one that I think a lot of people, this is at the top of their list of those 7 diseases of attitude, because worry is such an easy thing to let creep in because you start replaying things that have happened in the past. But guess what? You're not the same person as things that have happened in the past. Okay. I could easily have let worry take over. Several times during my journey with ulcerative colitis, I had a lot of people ask me, I don't understand how you stay so positive. I don't understand how you keep such a positive attitude through this. I couldn't do it. And my response was always, well, I don't really have a choice. And I guess I did have a choice. I could have said, woe is me. This is terrible. This is awful. This isn't going how I planned. But I did the work mentally going through simple fat burn so that when it did happen, I was able to look for the silver lining and say, yeah, this isn't exactly what I planned, but there's a reason this is happening. And it has made me such a better coach. It's made me a better teacher. It's made me a better health professional because I understand the importance of working through not only the physical side of things, but also the mental side of things. Because had I not had those tools in my toolbox when I was diagnosed, it could have been a completely different story. And had I not taken control of my physical health prior to that diagnosis, it could have been a completely different outcome. And so that's how I choose to look at it, is that I can't worry about it because I've done everything I can possibly do to set myself up for success. So whatever is going to happen is going to happen, right? It doesn't matter what happens. I can't worry about the what if because I know that I've done everything in my power to set myself up for success. Now, if you know that you haven't done everything you can to set yourself up for success, that's a different story. That goes back to that indecision, right? Make a decision and take some action, right? And stop having the self doubt and stop being indifferent to things. Make a decision and choose to do everything you can to set yourself up for success, right? And this is not just with health scenarios, this is life, right? Career, relationships, all of the things, finances, all of that. Okay. So make sure you are setting yourself up for success. All right. So number 4 is worry. We can only control what we can control. So figure out and ask yourself, am I doing everything I possibly can? Or is there maybe 1 or 2 things I need to do a little bit better? And then plan for that. Okay. Number 5, over caution. Over caution. When we get too conservative, when we're too afraid to take a little bit of a risk, then maybe we don't get the outcome we want because we're too afraid to take the action. Again, going back to indecision, I think these two, the over caution and indecision, a lot of times go hand in hand, right? We're too afraid, the worry over all of these really kind of all interconnect, but you've got the over caution. When you are over cautious, a lot of times that leads to inaction, and then we don't get the payoff, right? And that over caution can look like so many things in different areas of your life, right? Do you not speak up and ask for something that you want in your career, in your relationship, in your finances, in your health, right? Are you too afraid to do something a little bit different because you're just not sure what the outcome's going to be. It happens, right? Okay. Number 6, pessimism. That one we all knew was coming, right? Because pessimism can be such a killer, right? It is such a disease. If you allow pessimism to take over, one, you're going to be less fun to be around. So, that number 7 step of the signature system, that give back, you're not going to have the opportunity to do that because people aren't going to want to be around you, right? The more pessimistic we are, the more negativity we attract, right? We want to be positive. We want to attract the positive things. Okay. We want to be optimistic. Now, does that mean you can never have a negative thought? No, we talk about this all the time. Negative thoughts happen, but it's what you do with those negative thoughts that leads to that pessimism or optimism. If you allow them to take over and you always see the glass as half empty instead of either half full or the potential to be overflowing, right? That's where it gets dangerous. That's where that can really lead to continued disease of not even just the mind, but the physical disease and all of that, right? Had I been very pessimistic throughout my health journey, I probably wouldn't have gotten where I wanted to be, right? And I wouldn't have been able to overcome all the things that I've overcome. And I talked about this a little bit a couple weeks ago when I broke my foot. It was like, oh my goodness. I didn't ask what else because I certainly didn't want anything else to happen. But it was like, oh my gosh, like I was prepared for the surgery recovery. I was prepared for all that. Mentally, I was good. And then I go and break my foot. And it's like, my goodness. But it's like, look for the silver lining. And here we are, right? Because I didn't have that pessimism creep in. It was, okay, we're going to remain optimistic. This is happening for me, not to me. Okay. And pessimism is an easy one to let creep in if you're not careful. That's why we talk about having that morning routine that really incorporates the gratitude practice, having that scripting. We're scripting and daydreaming as if things have already happened the way we want them to. Okay. And so continuing to really dive in to that optimism. Again, that doesn't mean you can never have a negative thought. It just means that you handle those negative thoughts by saying, yep, thank you, appreciate it. I know you're here to protect me, but you know what? We're going to sit over here because we're going to choose to think that things are going right. Okay. And then number 7. So you've got indifference is number 1, indecisions number 2, self-doubt number 3, worry number 4, overcaution number 5, pessimism number 6, number 7, complaining. Have you ever been around someone that all they do is complain? It's complain, complain, complain. Do you want to be around that person all the time? I would bet the answer is no. It's okay to have specific people you vent to and have specific vent sessions. That's not what I'm talking about. But have you ever met that person where all they do is complain? Complain, complain, complain. And it's like, there is no room for that. And if we become that person, again, that give back scenario is just simply not going to be as much of an option because people aren't going to want to be around us. And then what happens? Then we start to have the pessimism sneak in. Then we have the worry, what if nobody likes me? All of that starts to happen when we continue to complain and we don't feel good because all we're doing is complaining. Okay? And so these are things that all of us have some or all of these 7 things happen from time to time, right? That is the infection, right? It just happens, right? And it's okay. But we have to recognize it and cure it before it becomes a disease that we're stuck in and we're just sitting and allowing it to go over and over and over and over. Okay. So I want you to really think about which one of these 7 is maybe something you need to focus on a little more as we head into the new year. Okay. So I'm going to give you the opposite. Okay. So I've taken these 7, and then we've got indifference, right? The opposite of indifference is going to be enthusiasm. What are you excited about? What can you be enthusiastic about? So I want you to ask yourself these questions, okay? And this is going your list of 7 as we go down these, the opposites, your list, if you just jot down, what can you be enthusiastic about? That's going to allow the disease of indifference to go away because we're enthusiastic about something, okay? So what are you enthusiastic about? And you don't have to have all the answers right now. You can think about it. So just write these questions down, right? What are you enthusiastic about? Number 2, indecision. Okay. What is one decision you can make every single day that allows you to not be indecisive? My one decision I make every single day, no matter what, is what workout am I doing? Right? That's a decision I make every day. What motivational YouTube video am I pressing play on the second I get up after I do my dance party? What's one decision you can make every single day that allows you to have made a decision every day, so then you are no longer indecisive? You get used to being in the habit of making a decision. Whether that's in your career, whether that's in your finances, maybe your decision is that you're going to save $5 every day. Maybe your decision is you're going to make X amount of phone calls in your business every day. Maybe your decision is I am deciding to get my movement in. I'm deciding to drink my water first thing when I get up. What's the one decision you can make? And then you can start stacking habits on top of that, right? We did a whole class on habit stacking. All right. Self-doubt, number 3. What's one either character trait or one accomplishment you are proud of within the last year? And again, that's celebrating your wins, right? Have that win or that accomplishment that you're proud of visible to you, because that proves you can do it, that you can accomplish something. Number 4, worry. Okay. This one's hard to counteract sometimes, right? So, what's a phrase when you find yourself starting to worry that you can signal your brain to say, stop worrying and let it go, right? It could be let it go. It could be take 5 deep breaths when you feel yourself start to worry. Maybe it's making sure you get your scripting done, right? That's an action that can lead to not worrying as much because you are giving it, you're just letting it go, right? You're putting it out into the universe so that it comes back to you. Okay. Over caution. What's something you can do to get over being super cautious? What's a decision you can make that allows you to take a risk, but it's still okay? It might be a little bit out of your comfort zone, right? Stretch yourself a little outside your comfort zone. And then you're getting used to not being overly cautious, right? So, what's one thing you can do that's going to stretch just a little bit outside that comfort zone? What's a goal you can set? Maybe that's running a 5K or running a half marathon or running a marathon. Maybe that's going into the gym and doing a weight workout. Maybe that's signing up for some sort of book club, or what's something you can do that stretches you just a tad out of your comfort zone, but that's not too much that you will go back to that indecision and to the inaction, right? Okay. Pessimism. Okay. These are where your affirmations really come in handy. That gratitude practice really comes in handy. So, with the pessimism, what are 3 things you're grateful for? And I think I shared, I typically do in the morning, I do 3 things I'm grateful for in general. And then at night, I do 3 things I'm grateful for that happened that day. It doesn't take me more than like 2 minutes. But I do that because what that does is that leads to more optimism throughout the day. And then the last one is complaining. One way to stop complaining is by sending someone something positive every day. Doesn't matter who, doesn't matter what. Sending a compliment every day is an incredible way to stop complaining, because then you start looking for things to compliment. So then you're looking for what's going right. You're looking for the good things instead of looking for what's to complain about. Okay. So you see how all of these things, and they're going to take you, that list is going to take you maybe 5 minutes a day to do, if that. And think of how that's going to just completely cure those 7 diseases of attitude and not even let them in. They might become tiny little infections, one here and there, but then they're just gone, right? And you are living and breathing positivity. And then you have people coming up to you saying, how are you staying so positive? What is going on? You look amazing. You're glowing. All of the above, right? And it's because you are not allowing those 7 diseases of attitude to creep in, which then in turn prohibits your goals from coming to fruition, right? Because what we put out is what we get back. So if we're asking for the good things and we're asking for the positive things, that's what we're going to get back. Okay, so that's how we cure the 7 diseases of attitude, right? We counteract them with tiny little bits of positivity throughout the day. And then what that does is that gets your mind to that tipping point, because all you have to do is think 51% positively, and those scales are going to shift and good things are going to start to happen. And then you're exponentially going to start thinking more positively. All right. So then the last thing that I want you to do that's going to help remind you of where you're at, right? And remind you of your goals, remind you to not be indifferent, remind you to be enthusiastic about something, and remind you to set goals and reach for them. I want you to really think about a word of the year for 2025. This is something I've been doing for, I think, since 2017, at least. Okay. And I don't remember all of my words off the top of my head. However, I know one was joy, one was gratitude. I had ascend one year, progress, receive, wealth. I think those are all the ones I've had. So my word for the year for 2025 is ask. Right? I'm not going to be afraid to ask for what I want. I'm not going to have that indecision or that self-doubt. I'm going to ask. Right? And things are going to get done. Things are going to elevate. So think about your word of the year is, and you don't have to post it unless you just want to. What your word is. So send me if you don't feel comfortable posting it, but if you do feel comfortable, post it in the comments. We want to see so we can support your word for the, okay? And these are things that you can just go back to and think, okay, am I living my word? Am I here? So my word for this year was wealth, right? And wealth in the sense of wealth in relationships, wealth, health, wealth in finance, and all of the above, right? Just wealth so that I can give back on a bigger scale. Okay. And my word last year was receive. And my goodness, the things that came in that were positive that allowed me to serve were just incredible. And so they all kind of build on each other. Okay. And so that's what I want you to really think about. You don't have to have it now. You tonight and tomorrow night, reflect it. And it's okay if you don't have your word settled on by the first. It's okay. I promise. Okay. Be indecisive and not make a decision about it. Okay. Pick a word and just allow it to happen. Okay. And then when we write these words every day, they start to become part of us. And then you'll be able to look back at the end of 2025 and think, wow, that's incredible. Okay. I promise it, like I said, it's something I've been doing for the last, since about 2017. And it's been incredible to get to the end of every year and look back and see, my goodness, here we are. Right. I believe my word of the year in 2018 when I got sick was gratitude, if I'm not mistaken. And so my word was gratitude. And it's like, wow, I really learned to be grateful that year. Grateful for life and grateful for new perspectives. Okay. So we don't know how these things happen, but they happen. And that's the thing. If we allow these 7 diseases of attitude to take over, then we're not going to recognize ourselves. We're not going to be showing up as the best version of ourselves. Okay. And I want nothing more than for everyone to show up as the best version of themselves all throughout 2025 so you can crush your goals, meet and exceed those goals, reach new ones, right? Because when we reach certain goals, it's time to set new ones. Right? It doesn't mean we're not celebrating what's happening. We're celebrating those wins along the way. But then we're setting bigger and better goals so that we can give back better. We can show up as better versions of ourselves and we can continue to improve. Right? Because life is meant to be full of so much joy and so much peace. And that's what I want for each and every one of you. So thank you all for, again, being flexible and showing up, opting in, and continuing to get the education. I love every minute I get to spend with y'all. And I will see you back here in the new year next Sunday. And we will talk about goal setting. So come with your goals already that you have for 2025. And we're going to do a deep dive so that we can clean them up and really make sure we are rocking into 2025 just with so much momentum and continued success and progress. Okay. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will see you all next Sunday, 7 p.m. Bye, everyone.